The most recent video I uploaded to this channel is called Final Chance for a Fresh Start. And in it, my eyes are closed for pretty much the entire time. And it is the whole reason that I have a YouTube channel. It's literally the entire reason, as far as I can tell, that I have a YouTube channel, that I was on Twitter for about a year and a half. It's the only reason this channel exists. Most of this channel, really, as far as I can tell, maybe all of this channel, is really just in the service of your being able to understand who I am by seeing some random variety of things so you don't have a misconception. Your ability to understand what I'm trying to say. That's really what this is about. But I can't do that all the time. In other words, that most recent video, Final Chance for a Fresh Start with my eyes closed, it's about less than 5 minutes if I'm not mistaken. And I do owe you a lot of explanation regarding it. There's a lot of background information, but it's so difficult to do. So this here video is going to be an intermission from that. Here's some comic relief. This is a talk that I gave about a dozen years ago to a group called Chulent. This is Thursday night in Brooklyn, in New York. There's people that get together. Chulent is basically this food related to the word shalom. It's this warm food that Jews eat on the Sabbath, that Orthodox Jews eat on the Sabbath. And this group called Chulent is basically a mixture, because this warm food that Jews eat is mixed of all different kinds of stuff. It's a stew. So this is a mixture, a stew of all different kinds of people. People who are leaving the Jewish faith, people who are coming into the Jewish faith, people who are ultra-Orthodox, a wide variety of people. So over there, at least I could see who was before me and I could gauge what sort of language to speak. Over here, speaking to the world all at once, it's really, really, really difficult to do. It's impossible to do. So I could either gear everything to the lowest common denominator, or I can say something which will be misunderstood by a great number of people, but at least it'll be understood by some people. All I really ask for is the benefit of the doubt. If you're watching something and it seems like it doesn't make sense, or it seems evil, or if it seems like I'm speaking a language or assuming things that you know that you don't know, or if you're reading it in a way that makes you feel in any way confused or unhappy, whatever, just recognize I'm obviously speaking to a different audience. There are people who understand that. There are people who understand the various things that I'm saying. And oftentimes, because this is a monologue, a one-way monologue, right, into a piece of glass, essentially, I'm speaking. Again, I can't see in front of me who I'm speaking to. So because of this, you're going to have a lot of that. So this here is intermission. The most recent video I did was incredibly, incredibly intense. It was the whole reason that I have this channel in the first place. Everything else is so you have a wide understanding of that I'm not always that guy. I'm not always one guy. I'm not trying to brand myself. I prefer not to have a name or a face. I like to have a face, but let it change every day. I'd like to have a name, let it change every day. But to be attached, to have that sense of attachment is something that I'm really, really not a fan of. So hopefully here's this group I'm speaking to. Now, if you yourself were never Orthodox and you're not looking to become Orthodox, it's not something that you've investigated, probably you won't get a lot of the punchlines. And that's interesting, because this was a rather comical talk, but probably I would assume that most of my punchlines actually are specifically geared towards those people, those particular people in the room, which is something that I cannot do over here through the phone. Hopefully soon, this whole COVID nonsense will be done. Bear in mind, it's been technically done for a while, but we still have some of the good and some of the bad things from COVID. I speak now in the year 2023, in mid-July. That's when I'm speaking. And yeah, the whole COVID thing is done, but one thing is people are not really getting back together in groups anymore. And anyway, so here's a little bit from about a dozen years ago where I'm speaking to this Chulent group. Basically, I had been informed that day that I was going to be speaking. Really, I got an email that day saying, hey, you know, I put out that you're going to be speaking today, because I'd been asked to speak there many, many times, and it was never right for me at the time, whatever. I travel a lot. And so anyway, yeah, so the fellow who runs it, Yitzchak, who's a tremendous person, a big tzaddik, as you would say, He's a very righteous, unbelievable person. He pays for this himself. Sometimes people give him donations, but whatever not, he pays for it himself. And it's just open to the whole world. Anybody can go there. It's a beautiful, beautiful event. So Yitzchak sent me an email saying, hey, you're on for tomorrow. I only saw it that morning, but you're on for tomorrow at this and this hour, because he knew that I was in New York, and I said it was cool. We should do it. So he chose the title and whatever, So that's what this talk is that you're about to watch. And to be clear, I myself, who I am, and I know this sounds like a little bit ridiculous, but really it's true as to who I am. Who I am is just the person speaking right now into this glass. Like the Buddha said, when you step into a water twice, even in the same spot, when you step into a stream twice, you're not stepping into the same stream. The water has moved down. This is new water. This is water that was not there before. Nor, he said, is the foot that is stepping the same foot. This is really, really important. You're not the same person. I'm a million different people from one day to the next. I can change my mode. Right? That's from a song called Bittersweet Symphony. We are always in this process of change. But nonetheless, by watching these previous videos of mine, you get some sense of range, some sense of understanding, but ideally, at least a sense of understanding that you're not going to understand everything. But really, the video that I put up, Final Chance for a Fresh Start, is the most important video that I've put up. And the person who put it up felt, it would be, arrogant of me to say this, me, the person who's at this moment speaking, but the person who put it up, he felt that ideally it's the most important video on all of YouTube. Again, I'm not that guy right now, but I will give you a lot of explanation about what that video was about after this comic relief.
Without further ado, I would say, please, the Moshe, address your
Thank you. It's very exciting to be here. I've been begging Yitzhak for years. Please come speak at this island. Yitzhak said not until you learn English. Eventually he relented. In any case, this morning I got an email, and I was told that I'm speaking at 10 p.m., which is more or less what it is, someplace, on the subject of travels of a Jew hunter. Travels of a Jew hunter. Obviously, I had no idea what that meant, travels of a Jew hunter. I'm still not sure what it means. It does sound quite a lot like what Nazis did. They're quite rather proficient at it. But just not my thing, Jew hunting. I mean, I can understand. First, I know a lot of Jews. I know a lot that deserve to be hunted. But for me personally, whatever. My grandparents went through it and all. I have a personal negia against it. So I was trying to figure out what to do, what to speak about. And luckily enough, as I did as I always did. I stopped by Carl and Stalin on my way over here as I got lost. And in Carl and Stalin, somebody helpfully directed me to the English section. But like I said, I didn't learn English yet. So I had to take one of the Jewish books, the Sanhedrin. I tried to inspire myself. I opened the Parak HaChelek, the 11th or 10th chapter in Sanhedrin, depending on how you look at it. Kol Yisrael yesh lem chelek lo'elam haba. Every Jew has a portion in the world to come.
Amen.
Shenemar, amen, amen. Shenemar va'amech kulam tzadikim. Your nation is entirely righteous. Told by, obviously, written by somebody who never met most people that know. Va'amech kulam tzadikim lo'elam yirshu aretz. Metzim atoy masig yodai l'spire. Kol Yisrael yesh lem chelek lo'elam haba. And I remember a time when that was very heavy on my mind. So it was about a year ago, and I was about to be disappeared by the Jordanian soldiers on the Syrian border, as you do. And I remember thinking, V'amech kulam tzadikim, and Kol Yisrael yesh lem chelek lo'elam haba, because it looked like Olam Haba was very, very close by, and I was hoping that I was going to get to be there. Baruch Hashem, as you can see, I'm still in Olam Hazeh, as far as I can tell. I don't know. There was a lot of weird smoke upstairs. I can't tell you for sure where I am, but it's quite possible that I'm still in Olam Hazeh, this one. In any case, I wasn't disappeared because Musa Uriga, Aluk Lehi, or something like that. Some woman who was next to me said, Musa, we need to go. And I took her hand and I walked out of the Jordanian soldiers, out of the police station over there, away from Syria, back into Jordan. Eretz Yisrael Hashlama, as I refer to it, the east bank of Jordan, Ruvain, Gad, Chatzi, Sheva, Menashe. And after being chased for a little while, eventually we got out and all was good. And I was trying to understand, what was it that caused me to be saved at that last second? And it took me a while, but I realized, what's pshat? Why was I there? I'll take a guess. Raise your hand if you have a guess. Why was I trying to get into Syria? You're exactly right. I have no idea. There is no reason I can't guess either. I couldn't tell you for the life of me. But it might have been to impress a girl, because people do a lot of stupid things to impress girls. It's possible that was what it did. As it turns out, it did not impress her, because she almost lost her life that day. So, like I said, a lot of stupid things. But we tried. We do try. In any case, so I was going up there though because I had met this girl. And this girl is the reason I'm alive, because otherwise they would have disappeared me for sure. But they have an understanding that if you are a non-Arab, a non-Muslim, and you go out to some of the Islamic regions of the world, you're fair game. If you're a female, or even if you're male, you're fair game. I know as a male from personal experience, there were things that I experienced there that were magnificent that I had never priorly thought to consider. I expect years of therapy to help me overcome those, though.
You'll be disappointed.
I would be disappointed. Look, I have my Coco on speed dial. He's always there to help. Where were we going with this? Yes. This girl, no, we are going someplace. We're still with the Mishnah. Kol Yisrael chutz mi modcha. Shuvu von Mishoyevim. Chutz mi modcha. I'm sorry. Mordechai walks in and God's name gets desecrated, as usually occurs. Mordechai, shame on you. Really. In any case, so my life was saved because she was an Islamic woman, and because they have respect for Islamic women. If an Islamic woman says that, she's uncomfortable, then that's it. They have to respect that. They take it very, very seriously. Kind of like what you see in Stoim, except the opposite way. So I took her hand and we walked out, we were saved. What happened was the night before, I had met her the evening before when I was in the Jordan Museum. I went to the Jordan Museum, and as I was walking out of the Jordan Museum, which is the Jordanian equivalent to the Israel Museum, as I was walking out, there was an Islamic woman who was flirting with me. Or at least that's what I took it to mean. She was flirting in the classic Islamic manner. Anyone know how you do? If you're a Muslim woman, how do you flirt? You walk be'erech 20 to 30 feet behind somebody at a steady pace. It's also the ger way of flirting. With your own husband. So she was actually doing that. So I did the only natural thing. I walked backwards. Salami alaikum. And she blushed and she was afraid, whatever. She usually wears a burqa. It turns out then she wasn't wearing a burqa. I'll take questions in a few moments. She wasn't wearing a burqa at the time because her family is very wealthy. Because here's a general klal, very important rule to learn in life. If you make enough money, your children have to either be idiots or you have to have way too many of them for that money to ever run out. Ever. She is a very, very wealthy woman. The only reason that she's not wearing a burqa, that she was dressed, as a brutza, basically in fully covered, but with the eyes were showing, was because her family used to run the area back in Ottoman times. The family ran the area back in Ottoman times, and that's why at the Yemazeh, they still drive Range Rovers all over the country. In any case, so I met her over there because I had gone to the Jordanian Museum to find a relic, an ancient relic, that was only to be found over there, one of the most important relics in Jewish history. There was a piece of it that I had already seen near Philadelphia, referring to Philadelphia, Amman, the old citadel in Amman. There was a piece of it there, but it didn't have the name of the person I wanted to see. There was a name, somebody from the Torah, Hakdoisha, Melech, just covering more bases. There was somebody over there from the Torah, the oldest mention of somebody in the Torah that we find in an extra biblical reference. And I saw part of the original document. I had priorly gone to a cave near Deir Allah. Deir Allah is on the border of the Dead Sea. And over there, it had already fallen off the cave a couple of decades earlier. I guess I had not been up to date. This original document is like 3,000 years old. And I went to the Jordanian Museum to try to find it. And does anybody know who that was?
Arnica?
It's not Arnica. We don't have, that I know of, any reference to Aron HaKohen outside of the Torah or outside of any any text from the Bible. Ezra was Ezra's nephew. Ezra's nephew's brother. I know, but nothing. It was before Ezra. We have references to Beis David, for the record. We have references to Beis David, but not David himself. We don't have any references to Shlomo. We don't have any references to Menashe. But we have somebody actually from the 5 books of Moses. The dove that Noach was jealous of is not the one we have. Believe it or not, it's the only guy who does not have a chelik in Olam Haba. If you finish the Mishnah, as I did finish the Mishnah, because in Carlin everyone was on Mishpan Esser and I couldn't get out because someone was blocking the door until I finished the Mishnah. It finishes off that there's Arba Malachim and Shalish Yoidis, or it could be Shalish Malachim and Arba Yoidis, who also don't have a chelik in Olam Haba. Right? Now we're talking about Kol Yisrael Yishon Chelik in Olam Haba, except for all of us, as we understand, that's why we're here. Except for all of us, everyone has a chelik in Olam Haba, and there's one guy who also doesn't have a chelik in Olam Haba, Bilam ben Ba'or. I went there, and this is what Bilam ben Ba'or is doing. He's doing Meshadek Zivugim, Aliyah Mazeh. I went there because of Bilam ben Ba'or, and I walked out with a nice moyev on my arm who saved me from getting killed in Syria. It's a Hasidic Shemaisa. It's probably not going to be printed. You have to follow-up book, Hasidic tales from the next Holocaust.
Chas v'shalom.
Chas v'shalom, you're right. If we wouldn't say Chas v'shalom, it would certainly occur. In any case, is my time up? I hope my time is up. It's not up. Okay. Any questions?
Are you serious?
Good question. The answer is almost never. Almost never. Travels. Where were we before that? Travels of a Jew hunter. Well, I'll say this for example. I think what a lot of you probably come here thinking that you would hear about and are now presently at this moment supremely disappointed not to be hearing about is somebody who travels the world looking for Jews in all different kinds of far-flung places. I am not that person. I am not that person. And I think that the only way you could be that person is if you live in Brooklyn. As I tell everybody that I've seen since I've come to Brooklyn last week, get out of Brooklyn. Leave Brooklyn. You must leave Brooklyn. Over here, when you live inside the Jewish world, I don't care if you think you're an Eisvah or a Rush or a Yaeli who's not a Yaeli or a Zami or who's not. It's Veisvah's what you think you are, right? I'm sure over here, if you count in all the schizophrenics, there's thousands of opinions of who we all are. But whatever it is, the focus on Jewish, I'm going to kick you both out. I'm going to kick you both out. I'm going to kick you both out. And I'm going to beat you both up. I'm just quoting every culture. So the focus on everything Jewish good, Jewish not good, like this problem in the Frum community, that problem in the Frum community, that happens when you live in New York, you live among Yidden, Yom V'Layla, all day, all night. It drives you insane, and all you can do when you go someplace else is look for Jews. You need to find a Jew in China. China itself, not interesting. Oh, some places I found a Jew buried somewhere. Now it's interesting. I've been to China because I saw a Yiddish cave. There's something mishiga about that point of view in my humble opinion. So I recommend to everybody, look, I enjoy returning to Brooklyn every so often to see all of you mishigness. But I recommend, I'll take questions in a moment. I recommend to everybody to spend at least a few months living someplace not part of a Jewish community. For Shteitz, you should still live a Hasidic life. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you should be over on, whatever. Don't miss the fish or the meat or whatever, If Eliyahu's Megal himself to you every night, give him a forwarding address. But in a different place. Now, as it just so happens, I'll take questions here in a moment. Questions of any kind. I do not know the name of the capital of the Sudan, though, so actually I do. All right, but questions of any other sort.
Yeah.
But as it transpires, wherever I go, because I happen to be Jewish, my nose gives it away, and also the fact that I can't shut up gives it away too. I do happen to be something of a magnet for Jews. Jews or people who think they're Jews. It happened, for example, in Medford, Oregon. Anybody know what Medford, Oregon is?
Oregon? It's in Germany.
It's in Germany, that's right. Medford, Oregon. It's in southern Oregon, next to Ashland or something like that. Right north of California. People think Northern California is San Francisco. San Francisco is Central California. There's a whole lot of north after that. And I highly recommend it. It's absolutely an amazing place. And you go to Mount Shasta over there. Mount Shasta where there's every kind of Michigan, and almost none of them are Jews. What a geschmack thing, right? Goyish Michigan. I mean, there's people there who hold, there's this mountain over there called Mount Shasta, and there's people there who hold that there's these little people These tiny people who live under the mountain, they live a perfect utopian life under the mountain, like B'nai Moshe or something, you know? They live their perfect life, they keep in Kol Torah Kula, and then people over there worship the little people under the mountain. It is also, as you might imagine, a Northern California academic town. The two, there's no steer out there. The two go hand in hand. Academia and tiny people living under a mountain, not a problem. In any case, so in Medford, Oregon, in addition to hanging out by one of Zalman Shlomi Schachter's synagogues, one of the few that he has, which was disappointingly less sexual than you would think if you ever listened to Zalman Shlomi Schachter speak or read anything that he ever said. In addition to that, I was driving through the woods and I come across a bunch, this is getting dark, I come across a bunch of parked cars. I have a general rule in life. Whenever I see a bunch of parked cars, I park my own car and I walk in just to see what's going on. It doesn't always serve me well, but it usually does. I walked in over there and it turns out it was a shul in the middle of Medford. Sort of a shul. It was a Jews for Yoshua the Nazarite shul. Obviously nobody there is Jewish. If you read the recent Pew poll, there's a poll that came out recently by PEW, that speaks of, it breaks up the entire Jewish community of America, and apparently there's about 2 million American Jews who believe in Jesus. Really, according to this Pew poll. Now you have to understand, according to this Pew poll, anybody who says they're Jewish is Jewish. They're not looking into your mother's yichus. They're not going back Arba Doros, Chamisha Doros. They're not familiar with Kedushin's fourth parak on the subject. So therefore, if you say you're Jewish, there's a lot of people who they don't want to be Saba Christian, because who wants to be a Christian? So there's people who say that they're Jews who believe, who are redeemed to accept Jesus. So I walk in over there, I teach them Torah Yikra, and they're doing Shalashidus. We sang Nigunim, and this is totally true. There were people there who really, really thought that I was the second coming of Christ. I told them I have the first coming of Christ. So that's one interesting example of, this for the record, is not the only Jews for Jesus synagogue that I've been to. In addition to this one, I was in Medford. I don't know if I mentioned.
North of Corvallis.
No, I was saying this is not the only Jews for Jesus synagogue. Okay.
Okay, I got it.
It's like, you know, it's wheels inside spinning cherev, something or other. But also in Las Vegas, this is completely true, there's a Jews for Jesus place over there. It's called Leiv Hashem, because they never get it exactly right. It's always like, you know, it's something Jewish, but it's like Oyev Kesef or whatever, or Beis Zoinus. It's something Jewish sounding, but they never get it right. This was Leiv Hashem, that's what it's called, Leiv Hashem. So I was so excited to be there.
Where is
This is in Las Vegas. It's in an industrial park area in Las Vegas. I'm sure you can look it up on Google, that's how I found it.
The Russian River.
Next to the Russian River, in Germany. And so I go in over there, and I go over to the rabbi of the shul, and I tell her, no, that's a joke. It's talking, they're conservative. You just forgot it's a man. It's This I don't know. This I don't kiss and tell. But I go to Leiv Hashem. I go to the rabbi, and I really did this. I go to the rabbi, and I said, "Lekayim Mashakosov, Leiv Hashem b'Yad Galochem." He didn't get it. There's a pasuk, Leiv Malochem b'Yad Hashem. In any case, it didn't go over. But over there, I walk over to this Alta Goy, and I shake his hand, wish him good Shabbos, everyone, they're all in Palais, and someone has tefillin on also, Shabbos. And this guy, he has some weird accent. I asked him where he's from. He says, from Poland. I said, but you don't have a Polish accent. He says, yeah, because when I was very small, I only learned in Yiddish. You know, Yiddish. I couldn't believe it. I teared up, I cried. Lamrois, to me, it doesn't, whatever, but you know, doesn't dance where he wants to dance. But still, it was very, very sad to me. It was actually very sad to me, you know? It was a guy with a Yiddish accent, an old Yid with a Yiddish accent in a Jews for Jesus synagogue. We spoke for a little while until I discovered that he was not the Jew there. The Jew there, the one I need to be Mashalach with my brother is Baruch Hashem already married, he has 5 children, he learns in Hashem Middle School, up in Toronto. Yes, Mazel Tov, Mitzvah, 20 for the children. But to get this 20, he's going to need some more wives. And the Chayrim is over. For the record, the Chayrim relegation completely over. Thank a round of applause. First of all, because there never was a Chayrim. Second of all, Atzoifa Elef Orei Ashkenaz. For third of all, however you define Atzoifa Elef, meaning Shtores, which started with the Seleucids 312 before the Common Era for reasons nobody quite knows, or Atzoifa Elef, Lefim Minyan, Seder Oilam, Seder Rambam, Seder Mezuda, whatever. Who cares? It's over. Over 1,000 years have passed. Chayrim is definitively over. Not a problem. That's why Het Mir Rabbanon is really not even needed nowadays. and that's why we shouldn't have to beat people up in Muncie. It's hard. It's all connected.
Oh man.
But
We should beat people up in Muncie.
we should beat people up in Muncie just for the sake of beating people up in Muncie. But this girl over there was a girl over there in the Jesus place who stood up. She had a message for the rabbi from Yoshkin himself, saying that the rabbi did not do enough mitzvahs this week. The rabbi didn't believe enough. It was mamish a gishmak. My brother, he enjoys, like the Nevardikers. You know the Nevardikers, they were worried that maybe somebody would, first of all, they're very big into Kiruv. Before Kiruv existed, you understand, by the way, for the record, what I am doing here is officially Kiruv. I want you to understand that. The Nevardikers, so they were doing Kiruv, and they were in the public speaking, but they were also concerned that the public speaking, what if they become arrogant? What if people give them a lot of COVID? As you can see, I'm receiving in the front row.
Trying to imagine that.
Right, so you feel, so you're getting all this COVID. So what they would do is, in order to conquer both their stage fright and the fear of COVID, they would come to the front of the room and they would roll around on the ground for a while, and then they would stand up, brush themselves off, and start to speak. So after that, once you've rolled around on the ground for a while, nobody's giving you any COVID anyway, and also you have nothing to be afraid of. You already made from yourself as big a fool as you possibly could. So my brother, I assume, even though he's not an American, I assume this is his basic theory. There's a bakery up in Toronto called Hamish Bakery. He goes in there on Shabbos with his talis and tefillin, and he puts the tefillin on. That doesn't wear his tefillin. Just with his talis, after davening, he puts on his talis, and he goes in there and he says, Shabbos! Mechalaleho moisyumos! He doesn't care that they're Israeli, they speak a different Avara. Mechalaleho moisyumos! Holding his talis, and every time they say, Anachnu mikashrim b'mishtara, lech mipa, you know? So, this woman would get along very well with my brother, and that was my thought on the subject. So far as meeting Jews in other far-flung locations, I haven't met Jews in far-flung locations, but really my field of expertise, as Yitzchak was saying, exotic Jewish communities throughout history, some of the most far-flung and exotic and strangest Jewish communities throughout history, including Shabtai Tzvinik, that are still around to this day, Shemronim, Karoyim, V'chule, etc., ad infinitum. And now I'll take a couple of questions on any subject under the sun. Yes?
You have an agent?
I do not have an agent. I would love an agent.
You need one?
I do need an agent.
Let's talk after the show.
I look forward. We'll speak after the show. Second question. Yes.
I don't know this was not Jews.
I was recently in the United Arab Emirates, which has less Jews than it had before Israel decided to carry out a very complicated Rube Goldberg type assassination there. And the thing that I loved most about the Emirates, there isn't much to love. You talk to people in the Emirates, and they're not very happy. Madre, you know what happens? The whip. So, in the United Arab Emirates, people don't like it there very much. In the outside, everyone wants to go because Burj Al Arab is the 7-star hotel, Burj Al Khalifa is the tallest building in the world, etc., etc. But people who are there, they're only there to make money. It's like New York. So people in New York don't understand that the only reason they're there is to make money. People in New York actually think they like it there. In the Emirates, everyone knows they don't like it there, except for the Emiratis. They love it there because they're all millionaires. Every single Emirati is a millionaire. So in the Emirates, one of the things I loved about it most was that there was no Hebrew. You walk down the streets, it was clean. It was Yudenberg. There's no Hebrew anywhere.
Now you have something else.
Except for the fact that Arabic is Hebrew. I mean, Yad, Rejel, Anf, Lasan, Sin, Adhan. Except for that,
Yeah, but
there's no
script is
Hebrew in the
much
Israeli
prettier.
accent.
The script is much prettier.
The what?
The script, the Arabic script is much prettier.
The Arabic script is prettier. Yeah. And again, no Israelis. I just want to make sure, in case anybody misunderstood, there are very, very precious few Israelis present there. Final question, and then I'll turn over the floor to the gentleman who just walked in. Final question.
Will you roll around?
The answer is, like the Lubavitch, last night I was in 770 at 4 a.m., as is my minute. And over there I had a lengthy conversation with some people in 770. Explained the Lubavitch Rebbe is beguf, mamish, alive. They don't go to the oil. He is there physically, he's davening, and we are davening to him. We are alternatively davening to him. I mean, they wouldn't say davening to him. They are busy drinking, throwing up, and then davening to him, particularly in that cyclical order. In 770, but the Rebbe is there physically. I asked, is he the same size? In other words, now that he doesn't have a goof, like the way that we can see, Maybe he can be smaller, he can get around, he can go places he couldn't go before. Same size. Can he fly? Can't fly.
Does he have any superpowers?
Superpower, he's already God. What more superpowers do you need?
But he can fly.
What superpowers come with being God?
Oh, you're right.
What
Raise
superpower?
the hand if you love Arrested Development. Anybody, Arrested Development. At one point in Arrested Development, they're doing Pageant of the Masters. If anybody speaks, I will hurt them physically. Pageant of the Masters, which is a real thing they do in Laguna Beach.
How about Burbank?
In Laguna Beach, where they have people filling in the role of masterpieces in painting. So the main family, the Blue family, in this TV show Arrested Development, which every Jew should watch, because only Jews watch it. So please watch Arrested Development. It's on Netflix, it's fantastic. I do not get a kickback, but it's magnificent. So at one point over there, the father who's running away he got a day off from prison, and he's supposed to play God in the creation of Adam. You know the one in the Sistine Chapel? He's supposed to play God, and as he's running away, he gets beaten by a cop. And the cop says, I went into law enforcement because I was so impressed by how I've always seen you play God with Passion of the Masters. You were always so still and silent. So there you go. Those are God's superpowers. Thank you very much. It's been a privilege, I hope, for someone.